Hey guys, so who's up for a book talk, right? You've read pages 1 through 31, so let's talk about it. What's going on here, right? So we have our main character, and his name is Arnold. His name is actually Arnold Spirit Jr., but he goes by Junior. And when he was born with water on the brain. And he goes in and he explains to us what that means, but it does cause quite a bit of problems for him, right? Some of those problems include some excessive teeth, right? Big ugly glasses, because the Indian Health Service only provides those grandpa thick glasses, right? So he has to wear these as a little kid running around on the reservation. He's super skinny. His feet are super huge, so he's awkward. People like to call him Orbit and Globe. Not very nice. So he gets picked on an awful lot. He also has seizures. Doesn't have them anymore, but he did all the time. So he's susceptible to seizures, which means he could get them at any time. He stutters. He has a lisp. Obviously, he is like beat up all the time, all over the place. People are not nice to him. So what he chooses to do is like stay inside most of the time. So he likes to read and he likes to draw, and so he draws a lot of cartoons. And he really likes drawing for a lot of different reasons. He says words are too limited, words are unpredictable, but most importantly, when you draw a picture, everybody can understand it. And that is the main reason why he likes drawing. He says everybody can understand it. He's finding this universal thing that people can get. So he's a cartoonist. This is the one thing he thinks he is pretty darn good at, right? Pretty good at. So then he goes and he starts to explain to us just a little bit about his family. And it's talking about his family. They're not rich. They're poor. They're a poor family. He says you probably think that the biggest problem for poor people is that they're hungry, but no, that is not what he says. The worst part about being poor is, and he gives us this very sad story, but something that probably happens more often than we know, about his poor little dog, Oscar. So Oscar gets like heat stroke one day, and he's just not doing well. Oscar's not doing well at all. And, you know, when a family can hardly afford to buy food for themselves to eat, the last thing they're going to be able to spend their money on is a vet bill. You can't walk into the vet for less than $500. I mean, especially if your animal's sick, it's going to be way over that. The mom knows that. And so they try to explain this to him, and they end up taking the dog outside later on that night, and the father shoots the dog to put it out of its misery. The only silver lining in this is that he says that when he takes the dog out, he says Oscar wasn't scared, he was relieved, almost as if he knew what was about to happen. That is something that some people say when they take their dogs to the vet to have them put to sleep. I've had to do that twice. It's very sad. So I realize this isn't the peaceful put the dog to sleep, but when you don't have enough money to go to the vet, this is the most humane way to take care of the situation. And he says this is the worst thing about being poor, is not being able to take your dog to the vet. We have this whole thing here about his parents. Hopefully you checked this page out, right? And like, this is what his parents wanted to be. He knows that this is what they wanted to be. They didn't want to be poor. They didn't want to be alcoholics, which they are. They wanted to do things with their lives, but just like life got in the way, right? So he explains that to us. He talks a little bit about his best friend. Well, he talks a lot a bit about his best friend. His best friend is Rowdy, and Rowdy is the one person who he can talk to about anything. And Rowdy and him were born on the same day, but he's a few hours older. Rowdy came out yelling, screaming, fighting. His heart is strong. He's mean as a snake, but not to Junior. This is his best human friend, cares about him all the time, always will tell him the truth, to a fault, actually. Sometimes he's a little bit rude, I think. Rowdy's family, not so great. Rowdy's family, they are also alcoholics, but dad beats him up all the time. Beats up mom as well. So Rowdy spends a lot of time at their house because it's a safe place. It says my house is a safe place, so Rowdy spends most of his time with us. So Rowdy really likes Junior. They get along. They are best friends, which is a great thing because how does Junior actually feel about himself? He says, I'm a 0 on the res. And if you subtract 0 from 0, you still have 0. So he feels pretty worthless. He does not feel very good about himself. He has all those problems. We have all these people that pick on him. We have people that want to beat him up all the time. Rowdy's his only friend, and he doesn't feel very good about himself at all. But Rowdy's great. Rowdy's protected him since they were little, and Rowdy wants to go to the powwow. Rowdy wants to go to this powwow so bad, and he's like, come on, you got to come with me. He's like, nah, I don't want to go. He's like, oh, come on, I'll protect you. I'll take care of you. So they get there. No sooner do they get there than Rowdy trips in a hole, hits his face, and Junior makes a mistake of laughing at him. So Rowdy gets mad, runs, goes away. Well, actually, he does not go away. What does he do? He grabs a shovel. He starts beating up the van that he bumped into, and Junior runs away. Well, Junior runs away, but he runs right into these Andreas triplets, the Andras triplets. Well, these guys aren't nice. These are 30-year-old men who are picking on a 14-year-old boy, and they beat him up, and they kick him in the groin, and now he's laying on the ground, and he's very upset, and Rowdy comes by, and he's like over his anger now, and he's like, what happened? Who did this to you? And he tells them, and so in a great display of brotherly friendship, they sneak in in the evening when these bad guys are asleep, shave off their eyebrows and cut off their braids that have been growing for their entire life. He gets away with this, passes a rumor around that it's from another group. So Rowdy has his rough side, but he has his sweet side too, right? We know that he cares about him. His other little bit of sweetness in him is he loves comic books. He doesn't love comic books like the Daredevil or the X-Men. He loves Casper the Friendly Ghost and Richie Rich, and he also loves Junior's cartoons. He's one of Junior's biggest fans, so that's kind of nice. The two of them are just inseparable. Now we're going to not going to college at age 14. He is starting high school. So he gets to high school. He's a little bit concerned about high school. He's a little concerned about high school because he is worried that Rowdy's going to start to hang out with some of the older guys, that maybe Rowdy's going to start to pick on him too. He's worried he's going to change. High school is a place where people change a lot, so he's a little concerned about that. He's concerned about that. He also reflects a little bit on his sister. So his sister, he thinks, is awesome. She's beautiful, she's strong, she's funny. She's the prettiest, strongest, funniest person who ever spent 23 hours a day alone in a basement. So when she graduated from high school, it's sort of like she stalled. She's super smart, super pretty. She could have done anything, but what she did was nothing. And he's a little concerned about that. Like, she didn't get a job, she didn't go to college, she didn't do anything. She just spends all of her time in the basement. And he's a little concerned about that, but that's where he leaves us with her for now. Instead, now he's going to worry about himself. He's on his way into high school. First day, he can't wait for geometry. He's excited about this class. He sits down. He can't wait to get that book, that smell of a new book in his hand, and he opens up this book. And what does he see? What does he see, guys? What does he see? He sees his mother's name in the book. That means this book has been used on the reservation since his mother was in high school. That's a long time. He's angry. He's angry that he has to study from these old, decrepit books that nobody is taking care of them on this reservation to give them up-to-date things, give them new things. So he takes the book and he whales it and hits Mr. P in the head. Mr. P is his teacher. He does give us a little detail about Mr. P. Mr. P's a little bit of a strange guy, right? Sometimes he forgets to come to class. Sometimes he comes to class in his pajamas. But he is still a teacher. And, they have this is kind of funny. Some folks are absolutely convinced that he is a Sicilian accountant who testified against the mafia and had to be hidden by that secret witness relocation program. And this is the best place to put him. This is sort of what they think of him. Interesting. So we're going to see some interesting conversation between the two of them in our next chapter. But we end on page 31 with Mr. P getting smacked in the face with a book. Now, was Rowdy trying to hit him in the face with the book? No. Rowdy just saw his mom's name, and he is angry that no one has given them some new books. I mean, his mom's name is in there, so he's really upset about that. So that, my friends, is a summary of pages 1 through 31, which is where you should be now, and absolutely true Diary of a Part-Time Indian. Hope this was helpful. Let me know. Like it. Okay? Give it more views, whatever you got to do. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.